Hello, this is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. And Growth Drive is a system used by business advisors to drive client profits, growth, and value. Now, we're also a community. Every week we get together to talk about all things business advisor, everything clients, cases, things we're seeing out in the world. Now, tune in here to this podcast, and you can join the conversation by scanning this QR code, passcode 867. Jump into the conversation. Everyone's welcome. We're looking forward to having you. So here we go. On with the show.
So how's everyone doing this morning? And Ed is here. We're putting the band back together. I love this. Have you guys noticed we are now routinely 8, 9, 10, 12 people on this call. And thank you. I thank you very much. These are fun conversations, at least from this side.
Hey, is everybody making money?
What?
Is every
Comes up like a gopher.
I'm just tired of being in groups where people aren't making money, you know? And if you're not making money, let's fix it.
Let's fix it. So that brings me, Mike, what a fabulous, he didn't know he was doing this fabulous segue. Tim, okay, I'm going to talk about the topic. So Tim, you know, what is one of our guiding principles? One of our guiding principles is that we're net givers. Good morning, Ed. But we're net givers. We are a community. We take care of each other, right? Tim discovered that it's a little embarrassing for me, but that Growth Drive Advisors, all one word, .com was available. What did Tim do?
Immediately stole it.
Immediately stole it. No, Tim immediately invested a huge sum of money to protect it. I owe you a Big Mac and a Coke. I don't even think you can pay for a Big Mac and a Coke for what that costs. So growthdriveadvisors.com. Now, thank you, Tim. I am eternally grateful, and I think the community will be eternally grateful because this now begs, this just kind of forces a conversation. And it brings several, it's the crossroads at Bastogne, but this is not going to be the last bulge. But it creates, you know, sort of an intersection of topics on which we've been working. And what might growthdriveadvisors.com be? And I sent Tim a note this morning saying, imagine, I don't know what the answer is, but imagine that as we start attracting business owners, right? As we start attracting non-business advisors, wealth advisors, principally some savvy CPAs, investment bankers, as we start bringing these people together and they're looking for you, they're looking for Eric, they're looking for Mike, for Joe, for Chad, for Ed, Joseph, not here present, and even Tim. As they're looking for you guys, imagine if what they might find, and I'm using the word might because this really comes down to we're gonna skull this thing out. They might find a community of advisors who are highlighting their specialty, their geographic location, the fact that they're C3D, our 7-step process, concepts, you know, all of this points on the path to mastery. You know, they might find you more easily. Would be one possible thing that Growth Drive Advisors becomes. And this goes back to before you guys got on. I saw Mike jumped on early, so I was busy, not excoriating, but calling out, you know, there are other, let's take Forbes coaches. You know, those are good people, but they don't really have a coordinated promise to the market, right? When you go to find a Forbes coach, you're not really sure what that is other than the strength of the brand. You have to do some more digging. So anyway, Tim, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. I'll see you on June 5th. And it's because that's right around the corner.
I think it works perfect. It's like ideal for a community, whether it's this community or, like you said, to make the community visible or available to the market, because it's what you're creating with this whole process. You're creating Growth Drive Advisors.
Yes. And yes. And there's, without getting into the weeds of how that might work, but yes, this community. And I'm working hard to create the focus, to create the need for you guys. So, and that will take, you know, that does not happen overnight, but it will happen. So I probably need to write another book between now and then.
Nice. Damn it.
So yeah, man, there's a lot of good stuff going on out there. By the way, you know, not to bring up a downer topic, but it does look like the market's going to open about 1,000 points higher. So hopefully we can all take a deep breath.
It gives us confidence that you can't watch the market because you can't control that. All you can do is focus on an issue that exists within a business and help them to work on that issue and give them direction Sometimes it's a kick, sometimes it's a pull, and sometimes it's a joint effort. But I think that's what we've got to be focused on, and not worry about those extraneous issues. I equate it to somebody who sent me a note this morning and tells me that it was 27 degrees in Rochester, New York, and they had snow. And I replied, it's 27 degrees in Columbus, Ohio, but we don't have snow, we have sun, but it's still just as cold. So what?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, there's, all I know is what I can control.
Yeah.
Raise my
And-
kid, love my wife, and do good work.
And I think there's a parallel to that. Not only should we not try to control the things that we can't control, why are we being led around by the nose, by the news, and by the market? Why aren't we deciding what our path is and putting our head down and walking up the mountain on our path and not paying attention to all the other noise of what other people are saying, doing, prophesizing about whatever, right? I think we've become a society of followers. Everybody wants to hear what everybody else is saying and enough, right? Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't have inputs. I'm simply saying we let ourselves be swayed all over the place by everything that's going on outside, and nobody has a backbone enough to say, this is where I'm going, to hell with the rest of you.
Well, I think I can sympathize with that only because Teresa and I last night were on for over an hour on a joint client that we're working on. And one of the things that you have sometimes when two people are working on it, the client tries to divide your participation. And I have told the client that Teresa is the lead, I'm the support.
Yeah.
And they just somehow don't like to listen to me when I say that. And so
Yeah.
I put a very aggressive email out last night at about 8 o'clock telling them, here's what we discussed. Teresa is important to have to take the lead on this. Please make sure you meet with her tomorrow morning. And I put the ball right back into their court saying, you have to do what Teresa has been hired to engage and support you with.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, Eric, don't worry about all these other things. Focus on the way the relationship exists and work on taking care of the client.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, if we would cut the frickin' noise out of the whole conversation, guys, it would change. People don't know how to deal with no noise going. They want it's the shiny object thing always going on. If you can cut through that and say, no, we got our back. Keep your head down. Let's keep going. That's a whole different thing than most people have heard out in the marketplace.
Eric,
I think we can be the calm in the storm.
Yeah.
Like George said in his messages this week, I thought were brilliant. When's a bad time to make your business more valuable? When's a better time to make your business more valuable? It's like right now. So, I think you can be the calm in the storm, the constant, if you would, when everything else is fluctuating.
I also think, Tim, on top of that is we wait around for something to happen, and then we all, the sky is falling, and my God, what am I going to do about it? If we would be working on our businesses and making them great businesses, to use an EPI term, significant businesses that are stable and have the right things in them, then we won't care when there's a little storm that comes along.
Even more importantly, if you're just to run along with Eric on that, my financial advisors aren't having problems right now. And the reason is because they prepare for stuff like this. They have their clients educated. They're running referral strategies. And right now, the conversations they're having with their clients are shopping for bargains. And it's the same thing with regular businesses. This is literally one of the greatest times to actually, and this is me saying it, proactively ask for referrals. This is one of the few ideal times to go out and ask referrals because there is so much unmerited anxiety in the marketplace, right?
Yep.
Because we just don't know enough right now. Could you be worried? Sure. And I told all my clients over the last day, hey, call up your best clients, call up your best people, and let them know that even though you don't ask for referrals a lot, right now, if they know people that are worried, you've got time to talk and help. Because every time in my practice that we've had a significant economic situation, 2008, 2020, all of my clients that focused on planning, very much akin to Growth Drive, but on the financial side, all those clients had massive growth in market share.
It's interesting that you say that, Mike, because I was asked yesterday by someone on our board of advisors how this type of instability plays out. And I've experienced the same thing you have, which is we actually are fortunate enough to get more attention, more people who are saying, okay, how can I be more helpful to my clients? And yeah, man.
It's like that
Yeah.
email I sent you that you commented on earlier, George, right? Competence and mediocrity at times like this are immediately exposed or quickly exposed. And that's when everybody on this call, right? This is when excellence all of a sudden becomes much more valuable, more essential. And you're not going to be able to necessarily, fix a systemic problem in one conversation. But the pitch that I have my clients saying to their people, their referral sources is, look, I can't fix what the other person did, but I can start the relationship with someone who makes sure it doesn't happen again. Like we can, but I'm here, but I need you to help me find these people.
Yeah. I like also, Tim, what you said. I think people pick up really quickly on one's ability to stay calm in the storm, right? And when everybody else can be calm when everything's going along well, anybody can pretend to be successful when everybody's going up, right? But when it gets tough, when you hit 3 really bad shots in a row in a golf outing, that's when you see who can really keep their shit together, right? Can they overcome the adversity that's going on around them? Can they be more than just where everybody else is? Can they act differently than everybody else is in the marketplace? And I think when we can walk calmly into a room and say, look, there are things we can do in this. There are opportunities here instead of the sky is falling. That's when we can differentiate ourselves. This is the perfect time to differentiate.
Yeah.
Eric, we're going to talk about this tomorrow on the webinar. Eric, I love that point.
Yeah, Eric, that's spot on. I mean, that is almost identical to the conversations that I have with my softball team. I coach high school girls softball, and, they may strike out 3 times, but they have a job to do on the defensive side, right? They may make 2 or 3 errors in the field. When they get up to the bat, right? They have a job to do to lay that sacrifice bunt down.
Yeah.
So
you got to teach. As a society, we're not teaching the people around us to stop riding the roller coaster and start being on their own path, right? We've as a society, we've jumped on the roller coaster with both feet, like we're on all the way and we're riding it up and down, and the media loves it because they get to control the narrative by having us be on the roller coaster. This isn't a forum to slam on the media. I'm just saying everything drives in that direction, guys, and going in the other direction differentiates you in a heartbeat.
Eric, you make an interesting point, and I'm just going to, maybe this is a silo part.
Yeah.
I have largely imposed news. It's not a blackout, right? I go to Real Clear Politics. I read the headlines. I may drop into an article or two and I typically read the first paragraph, but I am not consuming news the way that the algorithms would like me to consume news. And I've actually gone, has anybody here put themselves in a news blackout? Just like I
only read news. I don't watch news because I find that forum just doesn't help me.
Well, I put myself in a news blackout last year, and I found that my general happiness, when just started flying. I'm like, wow, what's changed? What's changed is I'm not being assaulted. Because it is an addiction, right? These algorithms are designed to create an addiction. And I'm not being melodramatic. I mean, there's a reason that people walk around. Anyhow, a news blackout might be a good idea because
they have to sell ads.
Knowing that there's a crazy storm coming doesn't mean you control the crazy storm. So to your point, how do we remain calm when the bullets are flying all around us? And because we have principles, right? We have a methodology and a process, and it works. And it's only good for our clients. Only good can come from doing this work.
One of the best books I've read in a long time is something called The Happiness Advantage. And it talks about, I think that's the name of it. I'm going to look it up while we're talking here just to make sure I'm not giving you the wrong name of it. It's written by a Harvard professor, and He did a bunch of studies, and essentially,
Yeah.
what we have is we have happiness wrong in this country. Yes, that is it. Happiness Advanced by Sean Aker.
I'm dropping it in chat.
Yeah, please. Thank you. The principle behind this, guys, is we as a society, we think we need to get to success to have happiness.
Yeah.
We have it exactly backwards. Success comes out of happiness. So if we do the things to make ourselves content, if we actually do, like, one example, and you just gave it, George, if we get off the roller coaster and stop being dragged around by everybody telling us what we should think and what we should do, and we start focusing on the things that are really important, and we have more happiness, we'll actually have more success. That we need to go after happiness first. And I don't mean happy like silly happy. I mean satisfaction. It's really what biblically would be called joy, right? That long-term happiness, not the short-term, we get happy because, we won the lottery, a moment of happiness. It's the doing the right things and being around family and being around the things that are meaningful in life. That sort of satisfaction and groundedness, people notice that when you do that. They notice a difference in you, and that produces success. That's when you can actually have the success you want. And I would just challenge all of you, if you're chasing success to find happiness, you're doing life wrong. That's not the way to go about it.
Amen. Absolutely. Rock stars commit suicide, right? All the money in the world.
Yeah. And fame and all the things that everybody says they want. They got planes, they got cars, they got, whatever. And
human experience is what it is. And wealth, wealth is wonderful, right? Wealth is what drives us. But Eric, your point is spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on. Chase being happy. And if you get wealthy in the process, great.
And be a different advisor for your clients by being the calm in the storm, that you don't have to stand on the shift, on the shiftiness, the roller coaster of all these things going up and down. When they see you and they see somebody who can actually withstand the wind and actually makes a difference in things, that's going to make a huge difference for them. Now you become the calming influence for them, as Tim said, and now they're attracted to you, if for no other reason, just because they want to be calm too.
Yes. And you know what? And we come with the confidence, this sounds self-serving, I don't mean it to be, but we all can approach our clients with the confidence of saying, hey, let's figure out where you are, and then how we might make your business easier to run, unleash sustainable growth. But you have the confidence of knowing that if you can get your client, if your client is motivated and actually executes, only good is going to come from that. And you will have a client for a long time who will probably introduce you to their peers.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, Sarah. Yeah, man. This kind of raises a question, something that Mike, you and I were talking about earlier this morning. You want to hit it?
Well, I mean, it's like whenever I'm in a group like this with people to varying degrees, just because I know some of you that I like and trust. But whenever I'm in a group like this, part of me always is driven to see if people want to get a little vulnerable or a little open and talk about what they really need, because community, what we're doing right here, is so powerful. I'm very fortunate right now to be in a position where things are going really well. But I remember not having groups like this when times weren't that well. And I just wondered, there's some folks on this Zoom that are not where they want to be financially, like happiness being something that you've got to own on your own end, not us, but you. But is anybody looking for help? Does anybody need some help getting more clients, growing your business, breaking through an obstacle or something like that? Because I just don't get opportunities to share stuff like that.
I'll break the ice, Mike. I think I'm losing my hair.
Okay. So is it someplace else beside your head? I'm not sure I want to discuss your lack of follicle resilience in other places.
Now, boys.
Now, Tim, that might be a conversation you and Tim could have.
Tim likes me more, and he cares about me far more than you would ever, Mike. So
go ahead.
Don't go there.
Yeah, I'll jump out there. Look, I'm coming off of 30, well, not coming off, I'm still in 30 or 40 years of helping people to achieve their goals, whether it's B2C or B2B. In business, my activity's been around everything from strategy to process to execution to persuasion, you name it, right? And it's all been in the interest of helping repair, fix, improve one aspect of somebody's operation or another. As I've discovered this community and the whole growth drive process, my revelation is that, holy cow, I could be doing this so that we're increasing the enterprise value and achieving the ultimate lifestyle wealth goals of the owners, right? So that I had to get this late in the movie to kind of realize that that was like the valuable end game. And so as I kind of move into this space, and I found Growth Drive Advisors because I was groping around for a name of the advisory practice I want to put out there, kind of my shingle I want to put out there. I guess to to get proof of concept myself that this is a thing that I can do and people will actually buy it. I'm looking for a way to create at least 3 paid engagements with clients by mid-year. So I don't know if that makes me vulnerable or not, but I'm not exactly, I'm pretty sure how I'm going to get from here to there, but I'm like figuring it out by osmosis, by kind of watching things. So, creating a deck and getting appointments and looking at for referrals, letting the world know what I'm doing. I mean, that's as far as I've gone so far. I don't know that it's terribly organized or focused. So I don't know, whatever you got from there, questions or suggestions.
Well, I'll jump in, Mike. Maybe you can piggyback off this, but from a pipeline perspective and a sales perspective, I know, and I don't know exactly what the stats are now, but typically, I mean, it takes 8 to 10 times to touch a client to get that deal closed, right? And I fall in that trap as well all the time. Is I may have 1 great meeting or 2 great meetings, and and I think the client is telling me everything I want to hear, and I go ahead and book it on my calendar. I start preparing, resort, all this, and hell, I never hear from them again, right? Well, why? Because I probably didn't follow up with them like I was supposed to. So I just throw that out there, Tim, because I am guilty of that. But yeah, I think the national average is somewhere between 8 and 10 times that you've got to touch a client to get the sale.
Yeah, Chad, I would say that is the publicly shared number. And I think everyone that works in our field, Chad, knows that it's actually probably bigger, right? Because most people don't measure all of their communication strategies, right?
Yeah.
And so they're doing a lot of different activities, but since they're not integrated and focused, they lose out. It's funny you went there, Chad, because immediately I was like, okay, like old sales dog, old copier guy, right? Okay, well, if I want to have 3 clients, if I want to have 3 installations with a lease signed, right? I have to, how many meetings do I have to have with individual prospects? Like, so how many, and you start building it out. And so the first question, Tim, is like, do you have kind of a mathematical structure for what has to occur at the top of your funnel to have 3 people exit with transactions?
Yeah, I know it's a lot.
Okay, gotcha.
That's a mathematical term.
It's approximately a lot.
Well, I know for me, I have to have at least, 20, 30 active prospects that I am engaged with at any given point to hopefully get 2, maybe 3 of those.
So like, that's always interesting. So like, Tim, you mind if I ask Chad a question? And
Oh, go ahead.
So Chad, so what for you, what is an ideal volume of clients per year? Because I think your business is really cool.
Well, I think it depends. Is it the strategy and consulting piece, or is it the M&A piece?
Yeah.
Is it a project based? Is it a monthly container or retainer? Right. So that's I mean, I've had up to 40 M&A deals at one point.
Woo.
Under contract. The most on the consulting side I've ever had by myself is 3. And that's, that those were not project based. Those were more, monthly retainer clients. Some of them were high maintenance, some of them weren't, right? But, a good rule of thumb on the M&A side would be for every deal maker that you have, you really can't manage more than 5 effectively.
Gotcha.
So what I started doing is I started outsourcing and co-brokering and partnering with other advisor, deal makers out there to help move some of these deals along. But again, though, speaking of the pipeline, as we know, 70 to 80% of businesses that go to the market, right? 7 out of 10 will not sell. Now, what does that mean from a pipeline perspective?
Yeah, it means you need to reverse 70% at the top
Right.
of the pipeline.
Right. So that's my point. I hope I answered your question, Mike.
No, it's good. So Tim, back to you real quick, and then I want to let everybody else have a slice at the roast. So it's like this. It's like, so 3 clients, transactions. Are you looking for a project, or are you looking for a retainer client?
Well, ideally a retainer, but any of the above right now, because one kind of leads to another. They're not exclusive. So my thought as it evolved right up to this moment is to do some, put together some activities or some process that I can follow and try to be doing get at least 2 clarity ones done a week if I can, and let that cook over time. So what does it take for me to keep calling, visiting, chatting, focusing more on what other people need or what they lack than me going there with, like you said, commission breath, trying to find somebody to please do my clarity. Instead, go and see who might need help. Like, this is what I'm thinking. If I plant enough seeds, then eventually those revelations people have when they do clarity and the follow-up could turn into engagements. That's probably my inexperienced perspective at this point.
It's true. Like the big thing with planting seeds, and Chad kind of alluded to it early in this conversation, is you got to make sure that, number one, that you fertilize and water them, right? And then number 2, you got to weed it. Number 3, you got to have a scarecrow to keep out the birds, and then you got to fence it to keep the deer out, right? And so this is the real challenge. And you and I have rapped about this before, but this is the real challenge with sales management. It's being able to understand the different variables in your process that you can manage and that you can actually maintain capacity with. So like, my big advice to you is don't talk about retainer at all. Look at how can we sell small consulting projects. And like, the easiest pathway that I can think of off the top of my head is to package a clarity level 1 assessment with a 2-page plan for like $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that. Hey, did you like that initial clarity 1 thing? Great. If you'd like me to help you create a brief plan off of that, we can do such and such. Look to sell small little consulting pieces, right? Instead of trying to do a big one. And the reason being is it's April. And if you're talking June, July, we have to, number 1, prospect so that we can get a transaction in 3 months. And selling retainer in 3 months might be difficult.
Well, and Tim, also, again, this is coming from someone who's been in the sales, boots on the ground world pretty much my whole life. But I think my conversion rate is pretty good. And the reason I say that is because I am a ball buster, excuse my language, on following the sales process, following the process, the roadmap that Growth Drive has, right? If you have a sales process, I have lived by closing deals by following the sales process, a step-by-step process. The client will never know what I'm doing, but it helps me manage and move the deal along quicker and more effectively.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to my colleagues who are much better trained salespeople than I am on the sales process. Tim, my advice to you would be this. When I started 16 years ago, I took the thing that I had that I thought the market would react to the most, even though I was going to do what I do now. I hung my shingle out as a fractional CFO because I knew the market could understand that thing and could buy that thing easier. And so my advice to you would be, look for the easiest way you could step into a trust relationship with that client. What is the path of least resistance to get in front of them, and something that they need and they want? Start with that and build off of it. I often get introduced by bankers to somebody who has financial problems and find, not unremarkably, that is not their biggest problem, right? But you got to start somewhere with the client, and they got to be able to trust you in that area. And so, you have incredible change management skills. Can you leverage that in some way to get in the door, to show them something that they need to work on in that, and then move that to what you want to move it to over a period of time, instead of considering this idea that you got to go to the market with this brand new thing and, this is all over here, right?
Eric, I think you're spot on. And we prove our value by delivering value, right? This is where our growth drive discovery process is so valuable to the client, right? They walk away with, just clarity level 1. Imagine your client before, their understanding of the world before and after, right? And starting to understand where they are viz the 3 dimensions of growth and their capacity, the business's innate capacity to generate profits and growth. Now, Tim, Chad, I think you've done these. Guys, there's a fantastic event that you can host. And Mike is here. Mike, world recognized leader, but on wealth advisors. Now imagine, and I've personally done this. So I speak, standing here in the first person singular. I worked with a wealth advisor at the time, was with Morgan Stanley, now with Ameriprise, very, very successful. And we worked hard to develop the, Ed will remember this, right? And Ed has been in the room for these CEO workshop marketing events. And a CEO workshop marketing event, you sit down with the wealth advisor. Now, in this case, I'm just going to use wealth advisors. Could be a CPA, a bank, an attorney.
Don't sleep on commercial insurance.
Love commercial insurance. And get a group of, and it's hard to get a group of actually 15 bodies in the room, 12 or 15 bodies, which means you have to get more commitments. Anyway, and run clarity level 1 and it depends on time, right? If all we do is run clarity level 1, the wealth advisor already looks like a hero, right? You're making them look good. There is a what's in it for them. If you have if we run it as a morning workshop, which I've also done, especially with Vistage groups, and we have 2 or 3 hours, clarity level 1, the value planner, and protect value. Now, I have never run protect value in one of these events, but I sure as heck would. I would have the wealth advisor running protect value. And now the wealth advisor, by doing that, is uncovering advanced wealth planning, succession planning, sophisticated compensation, and sophisticated insurance product placement in the room that day. And I will tell you, and it has been, we're batting 1,000 on this. If you run one of these workshops, it's not easy, but you will leave with one engagement, I promise. You'll leave the room with one person who's like, we're talking right now. And Steve Cummings, who was in the room when Steve Cummings described this, I think we may have been in Florida. He's coming this year to the conference. Steve is up there crushing it in Toronto, doing what I just described. And he's getting 1 point, Chad, investment banker, he's getting 1 point at the deal table from the investment bank. Now it comes out of the, but from the investment bank, because he's bringing these really clean deals that are very efficient to close. So long-winded diatribe, but things like a CEO workshop marketing event, Tim, it's leveraging on Mike, your referral philosophy, which I agree with. Okay, so sorry, I just hogged the microphone. I'll turn it back to you guys, but back to you.
You look like you're about to jump in.
Well, 2 things. Earlier, we're talking about where the CEO's living, and Ed and I were visiting, and guy had 3 different businesses in the real estate world, and he's just keeping his head down. And I recall, just as an entrepreneur, you just got your head down all the time. What we bring are new ideas from outside their world. And we got to remind ourselves that these guys typically, they're so preoccupied with their business and driving their metrics that they don't think the way that we think the consumer thinks. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just noise. They're so focused on driving their metrics that, anything we bring them, remind ourselves that anything we bring them is about helping them drive their metrics. They're so uberly focused, and that's what they're listening to. So if you're not out there communicating how you're going to help them drive their metrics, you may or may not find them giving the time. So that's why that CEO piece is so strong, is that we're really talking about going in. Ed and I have a meeting next week with, we had I have a former banker that was my banker when I had a business in the environmental contracting space, and he's automatically got the no love and trust factor. He sent us a list of 102 clients that he's looking to try to get in front of, right? So once again, he was trying to solve their problems together. I knew some people, Ed knows some people. We're going to get together, go through the list, invite them to a facilitated workshop like we're just talking, but you got to start with that no love and trust factor. And you just can't cold call this stuff, in my opinion, and have a retained client, a long-term retained client. But just you got to lean on your key persons of influence. So I been looking at this book recently called The Key Persons of Influence, and I'm going to put it in the chat, but it really talks about 5 things you need to do. It's really looking at promoting your personal brand. So if you're able to stand on your own personal brand, what they're going back to is saying all the changes and waves and how you go about, check getting that next curve. So the next curve it's really about your personal brand and who's your brand and where it is where you are. And there's riches and niches. So what in the book here called Key Persons of Influence it really encourages micro niches. So pick that like Mike Garrison's did. He's the micro niche, not so micro, but the niche he's picked out was a wealth planner, right? So what is that in a micro niche that I'm a generalist. I think we got to move away from the generalist. We have to, market is only have so much time for that 2-second commercial here. I'm taking 3 minutes.
Did you get your score for key person influence? Did you take your score? Yeah, that was it's a great exercise.
So I discovered this, and there's in the chat there, you pitch, you publish your product, your profile, and your strategy, and the whole idea is you're published, and they're actually in the business of helping people get published on a micro level. That's where George is. I mean, George, that catapulted that was something just crazily uber important, and your growth is just planned. I mean, so where are we in a published form, and what is that niche we can dominate? And let's pay attention to those key people are in the past that we've had relationships with. Think about what is that? It's a word I'm looking for. Environment. It's not the right word, but where does your natural environment lead you? And if you can hone in on that and just embrace that. Ed Wadke. Ed talks about his world in the service world with all his experience around Chemlon and selling and buying. It's just fascinating for people to kind of like they gravitate to that niche, and you're going to find more in that niche. So we go back to Tim's comment is say, how do I lean into? I'm trying to recreate myself. Well, maybe the idea is don't forget where you came from. Embrace where you came from and be able to build upon that instead of trying to walk completely away from it, because that's not the way we are. We're going to gravitate.
Who said that recently, Tim? Who said that to you recently from an airport, Tim?
So there you go.
Good stuff.
I mean, Tim, another example. So George and I have a meeting, Thursday? Just a reminder, George.
It's on my calendar, man.
I'll pick you up. I'll pick you up at the airport. I'm joking. It's a webinar, but it's with a trainer, a certified financial planner. He has his own training program. So he trains certified financial planners, all across the world. He's actually a buddy of mine, lives here in the Nashville area. So the goal with this guy is to hopefully provide him enough value, show him enough reasons why he needs to let us into his world, right? Because if we could get this one particular gentleman to become a COI for us, that could open the door for all of us for more business. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I just add that I think that's a really great. My entire business has been built on working through COIs to get referrals to people. Again, it ties back into Mike's stuff. I'm not doing it. I want to learn how to be Mike level. I'm like, Mike removed by 4, but I want to get better at the referral part and all of that. But working through COIs and finding the people that you resonate with and you make. But I would just tweak one thing that you said, Chad, from a wordsmith standpoint, not from a intent standpoint. We need to find those COIs who we can help make their life better. They let us in the door because we're doing something for them, not because they're going to do something for us. I know what you meant, Chad, when you said it. I heard it a little differently, right? And so we need to think about, how do we help them first? And this goes right to Mike's whole thing on referrals. How do we help that person first and show them that we're there to help them and support them, much like you did, Ed, in your comment about, hey, I'm supporting Teresa, like she's the one in the lead, it's her deal. Show how you help them first. They'll turn around and do it, right? The right people will turn around and help you as well.
I think you hit it right on the head, Eric, because every time I work with a financial planner and the owner there, and I put an analysis and put a presentation on the value of their company for tax and planning, 90% of the time they discover they don't have enough insurance for protection for the business, for themselves. They may not have thought about protection for a partner or a minority shareholder in the business, or they recognize that they need to have a better policy to protect the business itself in the event that the leader gets wiped out. And I'm dealing with one right now where two brothers own the business, and 47-year-old dies, and 50 is now taking over, and it's generating $3.5 million a year in profit. Their insurance coverage is terrible. And so when I bring the valuation there, we're meeting with his financial advisor at the same time so that we can discuss things that they need to work on from an insurance risk mitigation point of view.
Yeah. What a great way to walk into an insurance person's office and get them to give you want them to let you do valuations, right? But you don't walk in and say, hey, every one of your clients need a valuation. Can you introduce me to them? You walk in and say, what if I were able to help you see where people are underinsured? You can help me see where people are underinsured. So I'm going to give them each evaluation, right? And as a part of that, you're going to sell them.
Back up, because what you need to do, as the guy who does this with financial advisors, I've never done a clarity or anything else, any kind of assessment on a financial advisory firm when they were properly insured.
Yeah.
I've never, ever done one. So like, I'm telling you, do clarity on them before you talk about any other bullshit with their clients. Do clarity on them. They're going to look at that protect thing, and they may call you before they submit it going, you dog. Like, I get it. I'm telling you, Chad, your friend, make sure that you send him clarity and have him do it before you meet with him, because that's going to be the explicit demonstration of value for him. And it will help you with everything. You got this, Chad. You got this nailed so cold, it's not even funny.
Awesome. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, do it on the financial advisors first, because you're on every one of them, and you should see their faces, right? And then I'm like, so you really, like, how are you selling insurance to these other people when you don't buy it for yourself?
Because the cobbler's kids never have shoes, right? Like, it's just,
amen.
That's the problem, right? We all do it. I'm a CPA, right? Are my taxes done? All my clients' stuff is in for taxes. Are mine in? No. I got extensions, and mine come last.
Yeah,
right?
but you get into a productive conversation. So I did this last week with one of my guys. He's a top 25 New York Life guy, in the top 25 guy. And there was a $17 million gap on disability, right? And he goes, I know. He goes, the problem is, and he revealed two particular medical things, which means that he cannot address that through insurance. And I said, all right, well, how would you, and this is the pivot. I said, well, how would you talk to a client about this?
How would you counsel your client?
Right. And we went through it. But this, like, I'm telling you, these conversations, just for us on the growth drive side.
Yeah.
But these conversations are where you get to be intimate, caring, and they're present. Like when you, and you guys know this, right? Like it's never a real sales presentation until they're actually not only physically present, but mentally and emotionally present. And that's why the protect module, which I had a limited, basically, George, I need help, make this happen. And that was kind of the extent of my input.
But the protect module you're using it to good effect. Right?
I want to take a time out on our conversation though. We've all been giving Tim some input here. Tim, has any of this been helpful? Do you have some questions around it? Are we getting at some of the things that will help you, or do you need something else?
No, I appreciate it. I think I've taken something away from every comment, and on the whole, it reinforces what I've been seeing from going through the C3D certification, along with the conversations that we're having here. My instinct is the same thing: is to go start with my COIs and do clarity with them or on them. So it's not this abstract thing, and I'm not going and asking them for connections. I want to say, let me show you what I'm doing, and then let it evolve from there. I'm pretty confident that it's going to evolve in a prosperous direction. For me right now, it's stepping into the batter's box and going and doing those things with those COIs at some kind of a minimum interval. So it's like the post that Tina put out this week. I've read the same thing by James Clear. Like planning the thing isn't doing the thing, right? You need to actually do the thing. So it means putting the clarity out there with people and then making sure that they finish it. I've got a couple in the pipeline right now, so I just need to step on that. So this has been a great reinforcement.
Tim, I'll reiterate my offer that I made to you when we were talking one-on-one. If you're at all uncomfortable because you just feel like, I'd like to have somebody in the room with me while I do it, my offer stands. I'm willing to stand next to you while you do it and be supportive and throw in a couple of comments and just help you over the hump, right? Like, however you want to use me, I'm willing to stand there next to you so you can get the first 2 or 3 or whatever off the ground, right? So call me. Or you want to call me right after and say, Eric, I found this and this and this. What the hell do I do now? Right? Like, call me. Right?
Same here, Tim.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, all of you. It's a great group. It's the best group I've been with all morning. I mean, I really appreciate it.
Just a little
And George, right? I mean, take George off the table.
quick referral point. First, make sure with your COIs that you do it on your own first, right? And then bring in an expert. But make sure that you don't increase the risk perception on them.
Yeah. Don't bring. I agree with Mike. Don't bring me in just because you want to have somebody hold your hand. Do the thing, and then come and make a call and say, all of us have your back. So if you called any of us and said, hey, I found this, I'm not sure what to do with it, we'd all help you.
I appreciate that. And I think that is the plan, is to work through it with the COIs myself and then come back to the group, let you know what's going on. So had a couple in the pipeline right now. I want to get a few more launched and just get some reps in with it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great conversation, guys. I have to drop at the bottom of the hour. That this can keep going.
I got to go stimulate the economy with a refrigerator technician.
Guys, can we do a quick round the horn key takeaways from this conversation? Would that be okay?
I'll go first. It was really awesome to see, Chad in particular, how many people are really embracing how to run clarity and to keep people of influence. Joe talked about the book, and ironically, Chad's actually using some of it. You know what I mean? But that for me was huge. I'd love to see that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I think for me, it's a reminder that, hey, look, we all need to be vulnerable, and I really push that part of it. And it's not really push, but I have a discussion around that a lot with my clients, that they need to be vulnerable with me as well.
Yeah, that's the definition of a qualified client, right? Or part of the definition of a qualified client. Yeah, Chad, thanks. Who wants to go next?
You already know what my takeaways are. I've rattled them off. So I'm gonna pass it to Eric.
Yeah. I'm just reminded how important it is to have people around you that are willing to encourage without talking down to people, right? Like that this is a great group, because I don't see anybody in the group saying, oh, how do you not know that? Or, wagging their finger at people. Everybody here is, thank you for wagging your finger at me, Joe. I feel better now. It's great to have a group of people that honestly care, aren't trying to just sell each other some transaction, but actually care about the success of everybody. And that's why I keep coming back.
Thank you, Eric, man. That is music to my key takeaway is Eric. Thank you.
Kind of reminded me about putting a little bit better message to the, shall I say, financial planner groups that I work with. And Mike made the great comment that we ought to look at the corporate assessment first before we get into the client assessment. And Joe and I are scheduled to meet with a pretty substantial corporate group on Thursday. And I now know I've got a whole different direction I want to go at that meeting as opposed to the way I was
Yeah.
going to head.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Joe, last but by no means least.
Remember that we talked about this, right? You got worries. I got time.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just got to remind people that we worry about let's have a discussion. Let's kind of deep dive and have time to suspend judgment and truly be the advisor we need to be.
Bring the anxiety level down.
Yeah. I love
calm in
that.
the
Don't
storm.
worry, man. We've got this.
And the time to make money is when the chaos is the highest. Remember, right?
Yes.
Got to reinvent yourself. That gives you. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. If you got to jump a shark to a new product line and walk away from something, use these moments of time to leverage people's psychology, because they'll follow you because they know that the house behind them is burnt and there's no going back. But until this events occur, people are just want to, anyways.
Tim, you couldn't be picking a better time to go out into the marketplace, because the chaos is actually going to serve people up for you to look. They need help. I'm seeing more hands raised now than I've seen in 5 years, back to 2020. More people have their hands up saying, I need help because, oh my God, the world's scary out there.
Yeah.
Hey, Ed, do you by chance have a couple of minutes at some point today to catch up?
Sure. Absolutely, Chad. It's just to network off of the conversation that we had today. I got a referral in yesterday from Fort Worth, Texas. Okay. So, you talk about not being next door, and the referral came in only because somebody actually said, do you know anything about printing? And I said, sure, I print every day off my computer. Printing. And I said, yeah, I have a graduate degree from Rochester Institute of Technology, which is one of the foremost printing groups in the years ago, because Eastman Kodak, of course, was there. But you never know when somebody like myself, who's got 40 plus years of experience, may have familiarity of an industry, can give you answer before you have to go in. And I don't need to take any credit because I don't need it. I need to make you more creditable when you talk to the client.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Man.
When you sandbag your years of experience, it's pretty amazing. 40, come on, Ed.
Yeah, a young guy like you, Ed, come on.
Well, I mean, you look at it this way, Eric. My license is 65.
Yeah.
65 when I got it. You can tell my CPA's been around a long time.
I was a gleam in my pappy's eye. All right. Listen, guys, this was a fabulous conversation. Thank you. I'm grateful to all of you and to this.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Good day.
So
We'll see you later.
we'll talk to you soon.
And I'll reach out shortly, okay?
Okay, fine, Chad. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by the Growth Drive Summit. Our theme this year is building a profitable advisory business. Join us in Charleston, South Carolina, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. Expand your network, learn new skills, and generally have a good time. This is a top-rated event. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.